I have just bought a Bugatti Veyron with a small issue.
I'll be honest, owning a Bugatti was never something I seriously believed would happen in my life. It wasn't even on the list of dream cars I thought I could realistically work toward. It always felt like one of those machines that existed in a completely different world, something reserved for a level of wealth and access that I just didn't see myself reaching. Cars like this weren't built with practicality in mind. They were created as technical statements, proof that engineering could be pushed beyond what anyone thought possible. Only a limited number were ever produced, making them incredibly rare, and over time their value has only continued to climb. These aren't just cars, they're artifacts of engineering ambition. And even if you had the money, actually finding one available is another challenge entirely. But sometimes life has a strange way of presenting opportunities right when you least expect them. I've always believed that if you can clearly picture something in your mind, and you're bold enough to say it out loud, there's a chance it becomes real. That idea became very real for me when I was out in Florida, working on another car project. Out of nowhere, I received a message from a repossession company about a Bugatti Veyron they were trying to sell. It wasn't perfect, far from it. In fact, it came with a long list of problems. But there was something about it that felt like one of those moments you're not supposed to ignore. I've had a few of those in my life, where a single decision could send everything in a completely different direction. This felt like one of them again, and I knew if I walked away, I'd regret it. So I took the risk. The Bugatti Veyron itself is an engineering monster, an 8.0-liter W16 engine, 4 turbochargers, and around 1,000 horsepower. It was designed to break boundaries, to do things no production car had ever done before. And somehow, I had just committed to buying one for significantly less than what they normally sell for, purely because of the issues it had. The plan wasn't just to own it, it was to bring it back to life. The moment it all became real was surreal. It was just a random weekday evening, but it felt like one of the biggest moments of my life. Everything happened so quickly. I'd only seen the car briefly before making the decision, and now it was actually arriving. Standing there, watching it being unloaded, it didn't feel real. Saying the words, "my Bugatti Veyron," out loud felt completely absurd. But there it was, sitting right in front of me. What surprised me the most was how emotional the moment felt. It reminded me of the first car I ever worked hard to buy, a small car that meant everything to me at the time. Back then, it represented independence and the reward of hard work. Somehow, standing in front of the Veyron brought that same feeling back, just on a completely different scale. It wasn't just about the car itself. It was about the journey that led to that moment. As incredible as it looked, reality quickly set in. This wasn't a perfect showroom condition hypercar. It had problems, serious ones. The car would start, but it wouldn't move. It was stuck in park, refusing to go into gear. On top of that, warning lights covered the dashboard. There was a noticeable misfire in the engine, and coolant was leaking from the front. Buying it without any service history meant I was stepping into a complete mystery. I had no idea what had gone wrong or how bad things really were. The first step was to gather as much information as possible. Running a history check revealed some interesting details. The car had originally been built for Dubai and later imported. It had been driven regularly at some point, but more recently, its usage had dropped off significantly. That raised concerns. If the previous owner had stopped using it, it could have been because repairs became too expensive. That's always the risk with cars like this. When something goes wrong, the costs can be astronomical. And that's exactly what worried me most. Stories of gearbox failures on these cars often come with repair bills in the hundreds of thousands. If that was the issue here, it could easily turn this dream into a financial nightmare. Still, there was only one way to find out. Start diagnosing everything step by step. Plugging in diagnostic equipment revealed a long list of fault codes. After clearing them and rescanning, several issues came back immediately, including multiple engine misfires and transmission-related errors. The misfires could have been caused by a number of things: faulty coils, spark plugs, or even something more complex. But the gearbox problem was the bigger concern. The car simply refused to engage any gear, which suggested either a mechanical failure or an issue with the system responsible for building hydraulic pressure. Modern gearboxes like this rely heavily on electronic pumps and solenoids to function. If the system can't build enough pressure, it won't engage gears at all. Listening closely, it became clear that the pump wasn't behaving as expected. Either it wasn't working properly, or it wasn't getting the signal it needed. At the same time, there were other issues to address. The coolant warning turned out to be partially due to low fluid levels, which was a small win, but the visible leak from the radiator still needed attention. The misfire also pointed toward potential problems with the air system, particularly the secondary air pumps, which help regulate emissions during startup. Testing those components showed they worked individually, but something wasn't activating them when it should. As more pieces of the puzzle came together, a bigger picture started to form. This wasn't just a single failure. It was a combination of electrical and mechanical issues, all interacting in ways that made diagnosis more complicated. Conversations with other owners and specialists revealed similar stories, including cars with nearly identical problems. That added an interesting twist, suggesting there might be a common underlying cause. Then came the breakthrough. While checking the fuse box, something immediately stood out. One of the fuses had completely melted into place. It wasn't just blown. It had clearly been replaced at some point with a higher-rated fuse than it should have had. Instead of protecting the system, it had allowed too much current to pass through, generating heat and causing damage. This wasn't just a small mistake. It could have led to much bigger problems. Replacing that fuse with the correct one felt almost too simple, but it was worth a try. The moment power was restored, things started to change. The gearbox pump suddenly came to life, sounding exactly how it should. For the first time, it seemed like pressure was actually building within the system. There was a moment of hesitation before testing it. After everything that had been discovered, it felt unlikely that something so small could fix such a major issue. But then it happened. The car shifted into gear. It was almost unbelievable. After all the concern about catastrophic gearbox failure and massive repair costs, the solution turned out to be something as simple as a fuse. Watching the wheels move for the first time confirmed it. This car was no longer stuck. It was actually driving. That moment was hard to process. The idea that such an expensive and complex problem could be resolved with such a small fix didn't seem real. But at the same time, it raised new questions. Why had the fuse blown in the first place? Was there an underlying issue that caused it? Or had it been the result of something like a voltage surge? Those answers would still need to be found. Even with the gearbox working, the project was far from over. The misfire still needed to be resolved, the coolant leak required proper repair, and the car would need a full service to ensure everything was functioning as it should. But the biggest fear, the possibility of a completely failed gearbox, had been avoided. Standing there, looking at a functioning Bugatti Veyron, it felt like everything had shifted. What started as a risky gamble had turned into something incredibly promising. There was still a lot of work ahead, but the foundation was there. The car wasn't just a project anymore, it was a running machine with the potential to be fully restored. And now, instead of wondering whether it would ever work again, the focus had changed completely. The idea of actually driving it, taking it on a proper journey, even using it the way it was meant to be used, suddenly felt within reach. What once seemed impossible now felt like it was just a matter of time and effort.